Jamie, my friend, how are you?
I am here, Andy. Happy Thursday. What's happening, Scott?
Yeah, happy Thursday to you too, and happy Thursday to everyone out there. Wow, looks like we're going to have a good crowd this afternoon. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. We got some good stuff to bring your way. Let's just dive right into it after we go through the disclaimer. And once again, thanks everybody for joining us today. I don't think you'll be too disappointed. So let's go over the disclaimer, guys. Once again, everything you see and hear, as always, is for educational purposes only. Do not take anything that you see or hear, as investment advice if that's what you're seeking. Look for a broker or a registered advisor, guys. But keep listening closely to what we have coming to you here next as we go into our support, education, and training, because we've tweaked things a little bit. We've changed things up, and man, I think it's going to be great. It's a great start this week. I'll get into it in a minute. We've added much more training to our already incredible array of support and education and training that we have here at TI, Trade Ideas. All right, but first and foremost, let's talk about the trading room, the free trading room, free to everybody, even if you're not a subscriber. It's hosted by Barry, our moderator and great trader, and boy, there's like over 600 people in there. If you're not in there, I'm sure most of you have heard about it and are already in there, but if you haven't, check it out. It's a great forum, great place to hang out and watch over Barry's shoulder, and also keep an eye out for all the other great traders in there. Guys, we have 4 webinars a week throughout Monday through Thursday at the 5 Eastern time. So it's a combination of Jamie and Steve Gomez on Monday, Dan and Brad. Dan's our CEO, Brad is our CTO. So that's a great place on Wednesday to come in there. What you don't see in there is the Trade of the Week webinar, which is offered on Tuesday afternoon at 5 Eastern time, and that's Steve hosting it, and I'm sidekicking with him there. And then, of course, you got the trading studio with myself and Jamie. And the all-important Friday support session, which is tomorrow at 11. That's not at the 5 Eastern time. That's at 11 a.m. Eastern time. 3-hour support session for all those who want to come in and get any question answered. We use the same format as we're using here with the go-to webinar, and you can view our screens and we can show you things and do presentations there for you. So with that said, I want to talk about Brokerage Plus here just a little bit. And it's still in beta, but it might be coming out soon. I hate to keep saying that because sometimes these things drag a little bit longer than you expect. Anyway, it's for advanced. If you want to take your trading to a whole new level and automate it by taking your strategies and automate it, you can do that. It's for advanced traders only. Go to trade-ideas.com/beta and take a look at it. And what I wanted you guys to listen up closely for is our new training and educational resources we have here at Trade Ideas. We launched this week TI University, and what this is, it's 4 segmented classes starting at Monday and running through Thursday. We have Beginners 101, Beginners 201. We have an intermediary. So tough word for me to get out right now with a mitt in my mouth, but and then advanced. So actually, I'm going to back out of this right here and just go to our website so you can get a better look at it. All right, so here's what we have here, guys. We have a TI University, and these classes are offered throughout the week. Okay, this is going to be in lieu of our one-on-one training. Okay, this all started on Monday. If you signed up to Trade Ideas starting this week, you will no longer have access to the one-on-one training. Okay, going forward, you will have access to all these classes, which I think is going to be even better, because not only do you get an hour, you get an hour and a half each day. So man, by the time you're finished with this 4th day, you're going to have a really good grasp of our incredible software. So and then if that's not enough, you follow it up with a Friday support session of 3 hours. So guys, we're basically making it where you have no more excuses. We are offering all types of education and training here. So do take advantage of that. You can go to our footer section, okay, and just look under support, and you can find it under training classes and trader education. So just go there, guys, and you will find our little training session here, and look into that, because it's going to be the way we're doing things going forward, and I think you're going to be really pleased with it. All right, back to the slideshow here. This is the agenda for today. All right, we have market recap. Market's kind of been in kind of a funk lately. I think we may be setting up here to do something about it the next couple of days. I'll talk about that in the market recap. Holly recap. I'm going to kind of show you how you can kind of keep an eye on Holly and kind of use her as a market barometer. All right. This next topic, somebody actually sent in an email, I believe it was today, wasn't it, Jamie? Wasn't it an email that Brad had gotten or something?
Right, yeah, about overtrading.
Yeah, a guy he was really having trouble with his overtrading, and it's a common problem. I had it myself. I'm not going to lie to you. It's an easy thing to do. Well, I'm going to show you a little trick that may help you in that aspect. Data grid. This is something I put together for some institutional guys. So it's a top list. It's going to have a lot of data in it, but it's something I'll share with you and show you how kind of I use it and how an institution may use it. Well, I'll get to that when we get to it. And then if we have time, guys, we'll do a chart request. So setting up for a fun hour. Let's back out of this and pull up the SPY, and let's talk market. All right, so here's what we have here, and we talked about it over and over. Market, huge run up for 9 years, big, pullback, and now we've talked about how we're kind of getting in this range. But we have a very interesting development here, and that's because we got some symmetry, and when you start getting some symmetry, there's potential to have a big break to the upside or the downside out of this symmetry. And what I mean by that, we're kind of painting ourselves into a wedge. I'm going to just show you how you can draw a trend line and using our software here. So we're going to just go to markup, put it on trend line, and we're going to drop that right here and bring that down. And then we're going to do another one because we have to make the wedge. So another trend line, put it right here, bring this down. You could either way, you could use the wick or not use the wick. Sometimes when it's a gap down like that, without trading down there, I won't use it. And it's getting fickety. Come here to me. All right, so there you have it, guys. So what's happening here, we are slowly but surely drawing ourselves into a tight little wedge here. And what that means is when you do, the tighter it gets, I think the more umph it can have when it either breaks out to the upside or breaks down to the downside. But nonetheless, we do have a nice wedge here developing in the SPY. Now we could go take a look at some of the other, and you're not going to see that pattern in the Qs, but nonetheless, you have to pay attention to what's going on there in the SPYs. So we're kind of, basically, if you look, guys, we're right in the middle of this range, right almost dead smack from the fall off, to interesting now that we are, when you start seeing this getting above our moving average like it did today on the close, and now you have the 10, get off there. Why did it show me that? Thank you. You have the 10 turn, 20 turning, and now the 50. They're trying to turn up, guys. So this has the potential for a big explosive move to the upside. If it fails, just the opposite may happen. We will see. Time will tell. But I want to keep an eye on that wedge there, and when we break out of it, or if we break out of it, we could actually go sideways for another week, but we'll see what happens. Diamonds, yeah, I kind of can see it here. You can see it here. I'm not going to draw it, but you can kind of see it developing there. Qs, different story. There's no wedge here. This thing is pretty much close to all-time highs. So we got close a while back. So if there is a sector that's leading the way, obviously it is the Qs only a few points from their all-time high. So IWM, we'll take a peek at it real quick. Golly, my system's getting a little bit slow here, Jamie. Let me know if I start breaking up. IWM, it was looking the worst about 5 days ago, but look at the last, 4 or 5 days here. It is well above its averages as well. So, man, Jamie, if I don't know if I think I'd be nervous if I was a bear, be loaded up to the downside right now, but. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, bears are not sleeping well. That's for sure. If I was a bear, I think I'd probably just go into hibernation for a little while. Come back out later.
Exactly. There was hardly any shorts left on this, move up last part of last year, and the first part of this year. They had all been. But you have to imagine after this action we have right here that there's a lot more, people on the short side now, but we'll see what happens. Jamie, I don't think, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. No, I think that's probably it as far as the market recap goes. I don't see any. Yeah, Michael, when I was talking about symmetry, you had like a little, a triangle there, which obviously is symmetrical, but so Jamie, yeah, you know what? Interesting day. I do have. You know what? Let me go ahead and talk about this before you go in there, because it was one of the topics, and then one of the topics I had. I'm going to go ahead and pull back up my Holly recap here. I'm going to let Jamie go over the individual stocks, and there was a couple of really good ones in there today. But I was talking about the market barometer. Spiders, I noticed today spiders kept trying to go to lows, but during that time I was noticing that Holly's risk off. If you look at, this is her histogram right here. This is risk off and risk on. So what was happening today in risk on, the market, if we take a look at the spiders in the 15-minute chart, this is the open right here. Well, I noticed that, the market right here dove to lows. And I was saying to myself, because I'm watching the risk on, and it really just kept going higher, which means all these positions, the ones especially that you see the blue rabbit, Dan likes to call it, they kept going higher as the market was selling off. And of course, I'm sitting here telling myself, this is not going to be a real move. I mean, I know a lot of people were betting on the downside that this, was going to keep selling off, but I said, no, it's not going to happen. It did it again, tried to do it right here. We pulled back a little bit, but not very much on our risk on histogram. So once again, I said to myself, no, nothing's going to happen here. We dug in again and moved higher. Guys, there's so many ways, you can, and so much information, that you can glean from Holly. And when you see something like this, because I'm going to tell you, there's been days where I've seen this just fall off a cliff and the market keeps going. And sometimes the risk on, and many times I should say, would do it even more accelerated in the market movement. So, but I was noticing today just the opposite was happening. We kept going up on risk on. So I was like, this is just basically a low volume algo pullback, whatever you want to call it. There was just nothing to these down moves today in the spiders. And you can see we closed pretty much close to highs on the day. So Jamie, I see you over there, answering a lot of questions. Just stop me if you need me to talk about anything. Like I said,
some of these questions I can delve into when I flip it around here.
Okay.
But we'll eventually get to all of them, though.
Okay. Well, that's about it. I just wanted to show guys how you can glean a lot more information from Holly than just as an alert to whether buy or sell a certain stock. So learn to use it in that capacity. All right, Jamie, you can take it over and dive deeper into Holly.
Let us do that real quick here. And by the way, an easy question here. Stan is saying he can't see some of the things on our charts that on his version. So what you want to do, Stan, is just come in here and click on Help and click on About, and you'll see the version number that you're on. Compare that to the beta version, which I would recommend downloading from our website. When you push the big download TI button, it'll take you to the production version, but if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the available beta version, and that's always going to have the latest bells and whistles on there. All right, so we got a lot of questions that have filtered in since Andy started speaking. We'll get to all of them eventually. But real quick here, let's dive into the Holly recap. That's going to satisfy one of the questions that's popping up, which is, hey, what's the difference between risk off and risk on? And I will gladly enlighten everyone as to what that is. So you can see my desktop. Yes, Andy?
I can. Yeah, very crisp.
All right. Hey, as long as it's crisp.
That's right.
Okay. So here we have Holly's strategy panel. You know what? I'm experiencing the same type of lagginess that you were, Andy. I've been noticing that.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on, but hopefully we'll figure it out here. So, you know, interesting stack that Holly showed up with here today. All long strategies. You know, usually we've been seeing 1, 2, sometimes even 4 of the short strategies mixed into the lot here, but not today. It was pretty stacked to the long side. And of course, not everybody fired a trade on support and tailwind, showing 0, never fired. Things did not line up accordingly. And then we can see the distribution from the other strategies in the trade count here today. Now, before we get into the individual trades, let's circle back around to risk off and risk on. As we can see over here from our equity curve, Holly's intraday equity curve, we can see on risk off, didn't do so well on this culmination of 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14 trades. On risk off, Holly was down 73 cents, whereas risk on, quite a different story, almost a 4-point variation there from negative 73 to positive 315. So what is risk off? Risk off is Holly, once she gets into the trade, simply obeying her rule set like me, you, or any other sane trader would tend to do. In other words, if one of her exit criteria is triggered, and there are 5 of them, which can trigger for Holly, as we can see right here, when we have our all trades blotter up, we can see the reason that she exited the trade here. Now, the basic ones, stop is hit, as it was in the MU here and in the FNSR, and then we have a timed exit and a profit target. Now today we didn't have any profit targets hit. They rarely get hit, but they do happen sometimes. But profit target, stop loss, timed hold. Those are the 3 basic ones. Now we've also given her the option to get out of a winner early or get out of a loser early. So the reduced risk, this is Holly. Trade's not working, and the longer she's in it and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, she has the option to go ahead and plug out of it before the stop gets hit. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not, and on the other side of that coin, we have the profit save. So risk off is simply Holly obeying her rule set. The risk on total shows us what happens if we just buy the whole mini portfolio for the day and simply stay in it. So Andy, I swear my risk on, there it goes. Did you see how it was compressed? And now it's back to the back to this is what it was originally. But
I missed that compression. Yeah, let me see if mine's.
Yeah. So I'm trying to move my window here, and they just won't move. Okay, so risk on today. The past few days, risk on, risk off. I mean, the chart looked like an EKG or a seismograph from an earthquake or a lie detector test. We'd have these vacillations up to, you know, multiple up 1, 2 points, back down to the 0 line again, back up, back down to the 0 line, so forth and so on. So today was a completely different story, and as Andy was saying, you know, we're looking at 5-minute candles here on the spike today, but during these little downdrafts right here, Holly's risk on P&L was continuing to go up, all right? So that was in direct, you know, opposition to what we've been seeing as of late. So that was a very strange occurrence. It was like, okay, well, market's coming down a little bit, but these positions didn't really seem to be that affected. So one thing we can tell by watching Holly's ebb and flow from her P&L is we can kind of treat this like a stock. We can see we had, you know, a little underwater position here as she started opening positions. And then we get profitable, a little bit of a wiggle back to the 0 line. But if we could mark this chart up like we could do one of these up here and draw some lines, we've got a little top right here and follow through, and then another little top right here, and then more push, okay? And, you know, maybe someday we'll be able to make these charts bigger and possibly even mark them up as well. But this can give us an idea, once again, once the action starts, what are the expectations? You know, what are our expectations on how things might progress? And if we're, you know, topping out and then popping these higher highs on the overall, well, that gives us a little bit of information early on. Hey, risk on might be the way to go today. And of course, risk on did end up winning the day. So, you know, we can look at this all day, but that doesn't really prepare us for how to interact with Holly on a risk on, risk off basis on an individual play that she spits out. And that's really the best way to address this. So let's take a look at the blotter here. And of course, if we sort by time, you can see Holly got busy about 6 minutes into the open. It was the first trade that was executed. But what we're going to do is we're going to sort by risk on here. And we're going to notice some very large spreads on the top 2 and even the top 3 one here. 51 versus $1.90. 5 cents versus $1.01, and then finally 0 versus 45 cents. So let's pull up this first one here, which I have to say is one of the prettiest trades I've seen today or in a few days, on this GDS that Holly called right here, not quite 30 minutes into the open. So we can see when I double click here, all the information populates on the charts with the stop loss, Holly's entry signal corresponding with the blue line here, and then the profit target as well. Now, Holly had a beautiful entry on this one right here, and then of course we just get this nice updraft here, all right? And really, not even as really significant pullback until right here, and then that was just the pause that refreshes, and then all the way up. Very strong move in GDS today, and really just coming in for the day with normal volume. We see that relative volume of 0.99. But why did Holly get out of the trade in risk off? Why did she only make 51 cents versus $1.90 or somewhere in between the 51 and $1.90? Well, Holly's programmed to exit with certain criteria. In this case, her time to exit expired. The profit target didn't get hit, almost did. But we can see the shaded area, the darker shaded area right here is Holly staying in the trade on sunrise movers, which is designed around a 30-minute hold time. This is one of the shorter hold times that you'll see Holly come to the party with. Sunrise movers, power hour long, 30-minute hold times. So she just does what she's programmed to do right here. Okay, hey, my time to hold is up, I'm punching out. That's Holly getting out on risk off mode, the most conservative mode. Now, let's reiterate once again, what is Holly's strong suit? Well, Holly's strong suit is bringing us these statistically weighted entries daily, on a daily basis. Now, Holly's not the best at exits, which also ties into the theme that we've been touting this whole time. It's man working with machine. So if we see Holly exiting up here, and first off, we just got a nice little run, and then we got a little flattening out here, the starting of a little bull flag right here. Well, it's bullish, right? We're in it. We got the first leg up. Now it's taking a little breather. Buyers and sellers have become equal. Now, not necessarily from a human's perspective reading a chart, you know, when you look at this, hey, it's working so far. We're getting a little sideways action. I see Holly getting out. But I'd like to accept more risk here. So I don't have to get out with Holly. I can say, you know what? I like what's going on here. I like the fact that it's flagging here. Hopefully we'll get another up move. And of course, in this case, that is exactly what happened. We got further up move. So, you know, trying to get into the hang of this, me up here talking about it sounds easy, but of course, it might be new to you. And then it might just look a little confusing here. So a good exercise to get into, whether you're paper trading or you're live trading maybe 200 share lots of Holly plays, a good idea is to do a little bit of both, just to get you familiar, get you in the groove. So we could easily pop out of 100 when we see Holly getting out on risk off, and then keep our other 100 lot in hopes of getting a bigger move. Sometimes they don't go more. So in essence, if we take half off the plate with Holly and risk off and stay in the other lot, we'd want to adjust our stop loss on that second lot for a break even or right about that area. If it continues, we make more money. If it rolls back over and stops us out, that's okay, because we made money on the first lot. So we're still netting a profit on that first trade. And sometimes they go, and sometimes they don't. You know, sometimes the volume is strong and the daily looks good and they don't go. Other times they do. So it's almost like hedging your bets here. The name of the game is trying to pluck a little bit from this quite fat spread here of about $1.39 between 51 cents and $1.90. All right, so I hope that kind of sheds a little bit of light on the difference between risk off and risk on, and how we can address it on a trade-by-trade basis, instead of trying to be soothsayers and going, yeah, I'm just going to pile into everything and hope it works out, right? But if we can dissect it on a trade-by-trade basis, a little bit more logical of an approach.
Exactly. And another thing too, Jamie, you might want to show them that daily, because a lot of times a daily can kind of show you where a stock may go. You can see the beautiful call there that Holly had right before it kind of broke out to like maybe your 6 or 7 day high. And then once it did take out that, you can see where it was kind of destined to go to the next level of resistance in the chart there. Not always, but it can kind of give you staying power if you can kind of look for areas on the daily chart where it may stall or where it may finally kind of give up, you know. And so always be looking at a daily chart. I can't.
Absolutely, and thanks for pointing that out, Andy. Because I mean, a lot of the times there, you know, foregone conclusions, self-fulfilling prophecies, whatever term you'd like to use, and especially if we have a strong intraday signal based on a statistical model, and then we notice these correlations as well, you know, that's the guiding hand typically. It's just resistance and peters out. What's going to happen tomorrow? We'll see. Okie dokie here. All right, well, let's take a look at a couple more of these trades here. And then I know there's a charting question, and we'll get to that as well. So float on, SSTI. Geared up around a 60-minute hold time. Stayed in it the duration here as well. And once again, you know, not quite as thick of a stock, but hey, not a bad chart pattern at all, especially when we look at the performance here. And the funny fact that the timed exit expired after 60 minutes and Holly made a nickel, right? Not her fault. The entry's great. She's just doing what she's programmed to do. She gets out after an hour, books a nickel, and then look what happens, all right? And of course, we were sitting here going, wow, look at what happened in the last hour of the day. And the beautiful thing about it is, once Holly's entry is made, it never even acts like it's going to stop us out, right? We get one little wick here below the entry price, but pretty much we were just kind of up or flat all day. And so once again, if I'm seeing this type of action, it doesn't really make me too concerned. So, you know, could have been as easy as just adjusting the stop loss, you know, depending on if this is risk off right here. The wick's already been put in, so we could have easily made the decision to stay in or get out a half with Holly, keep the other half, and it would have been boring for most of the rest of the day. But this one just got up and boogied. Don't really know what the catalyst was, hadn't had the time to go back and look. But if we were doing the same thing that Andy was just pointing out here, once again, look at the entry and look at right to where that thing, it surpassed it just a little bit here, and then quickly peeled back off. But hey, we were in it because of Holly. Boring is about as boring can get, and then whoosh, corresponding perfectly with what we see on the daily. And this little guy just happened to have the added benefit of popping an all-time high. So definitely might be one to keep an eye on moving forward, which leads me to another point here, is every day, not a bad idea to get in the habit of scanning all the Holly plays and looking at the dailies that are being presented, because a lot of the times we'll find really good daily setups here. Maybe, you know, this is a little stretched out. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see if it maybe tightens up as time progresses. But if it does, this one might not be a bad idea to keep on the radar, along with any other Holly play. It's like a nightly ritual. I go back and look at all the Holly plays, and the interesting ones I set the price alerts for. That way we don't miss out on them in the future.
Jamie, now David had a question. It may be a good time to kind of explain the little blue rabbit, following the little blue rabbit with the last price. It's kind of a new feature. I mean, you may not know all about it, but
it's simply the last price being reflected of the stock, and it turns blue when it's in the money, right?
Right.
So anytime it's a Holly trade and, you know, the price action is in the money, it's going to be blue. I'm not sure if they've done one for, yeah, of course we're going to have red if it's below the entry price. Now, the phrase "follow the blue rabbit," it's something that our founder Dan was pointing out the other day about some interesting correlations that he was noticing by following the things that were blue, the positions that were already in the money, okay? And of course, I don't want to spend too much time going into the theory there, but what I will tell you is this: watch for your own self. I'm going to tell you guys exactly what Dan told me. He wouldn't give me any specifics. He's like, watch it. Just watch what starts to happen on these stocks that are in the blue, and see if you start to notice any correlations. Because we don't want to come right out and say, hey, this is a theory, it's ironclad, but as we continue to develop new things that aren't necessarily in the mainstream like this, it's not necessarily a study, it's just telling you that something's in the money and it was a Holly play. So don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole there just yet, Andy.
Don't follow that rabbit too far down. Yeah, okay.
But all you guys have to do is right click and go to your columns, and this one is just called last price right here.
Mm-hmm. Make sure you have it in there. And David asked, when does that start during the day? I'm not sure. It's not right at the open, I don't think. I haven't noticed it. So
yeah, well,
does it happen immediately once a alert is signaled? Once it gets in the money, it turns blue, or does it happen a little bit later?
I believe so.
Okay.
But it's
I'll keep a close eye.
It's showing you the price, not the net change.
Right.
All right, well, let's get this last one done here, and then we'll get into some of the more specific questions here. So we go NT and X. Now, once again, since the daily was already up, what do we have going on here in NT and X? And I've compressed my chart back about as far as it will go, but I think this guy, talk about a big horseshoe there, Andy, over time. I mean, all the way back here from October to where we are right here. And of course, this little area right here, very interesting because it has recently popped out of there a few days back. All right. So here we have Holly making her entry here. Why did she get out on this one? Well, on this one, it just wasn't doing what she wanted it to do as fast as she wanted it to do it. Gee, that sounds kind of familiar. That sounds kind of like a human characteristic, right? How many times in the past, Andy, have you got out of a trade for a flat or a small winner and then only to have it go, right? But when we look at, you know, what was going on here, we're in the money. Now we're coming back down. We were in the money. Now we're coming back down to the line. She's like, you know what? I'm punching out. I've got the right to do it. I'm going to do it.
Got the right to do it.
Look, you know, hard stops are there for a reason, right? It makes a little wick down here, and actually after this wick, and then you see it come back up here, this should be a little tail, all right? You know, and just not to get too basic on what wicks mean, but, you know, sellers tried to take it down, couldn't do it, brought it right back up. So a lot of the times if you see these wicks below the entry line, that's actually a good sign. And of course, we can see what happens after that. But if we do the 50-50 rule, get out a half with Holly, keep the other half, well, look what would have been in store for us, right? So simple. When you're trying to get used to risk off and risk on and getting a little bit of that risk on money, just do the half and half rule. Get out of half with Holly, keep the other half. Readjust your stop loss. Okay.
Good. Very good, Jamie.
Now, before I forget, I got to scroll way back up here because there was a question on how do we add studies to a chart, right? Real simple. You can see here I've got my 10-period SMA on my intraday, and if I right-click, and of course, keep in mind, you have to be on the latest beta version, or I think at least the latest release version, but preferably the beta to get all the bells and whistles. So all we do is right-click in the chart, and at the very bottom, we have the ability. These are all the indicators that you can currently add, right? So average volume, Donchian channel, EMAs, multi-period highs, RSI, SMA. This is the one that's coming. It's coming up soon, and this goes back to the questions that were being asked earlier about swing trading. Oops. But this one is not quite ready for prime time yet, Andy, but I think the version that Julio put out today is going to have the improved version of the swing exit.
Ah, nice.
Mm-hmm. Right now, in this version, it doesn't make sense on the chart, so I'm not even going to bother putting it up there. But we did just get a new release today, I saw. Haven't had time to install it yet.
Nor have I.
Okay, so let's look over here. I've got several moving averages, and if I right-click on my daily, if I go to modify, then this window is going to pop up with all my existing studies. So here we can see I've got my volume bars at the bottom. I've got a 10-period, a 50-period, and a 200-period SMA here. And we can always just keep adding them, or if I wanted to quickly convert one of these guys to a different time period, I would just alter this number right here and hit the button, and it would change that for me. So when you don't have any charts at all, for example, if I go in here and remove the only indicator that I have, all I've got is a 10-period. If I come in here and hit remove indicator, well, it didn't necessarily remove it, did it, Andy? Okay, sure. Remove indicator. There we go. Okay, now it's gone. So if I have nothing up here, it's really easy just to come down here and go, all right, let's set up a SMA. Okay, here it is. How many periods? I usually just go ahead and click out of it and come back in and go modify. And then here we have it. Okay, right now it's a 20-period. If I want to make it a 50-period, my number pad will work there. And then we can select the color that we want to make it. Use one color, pick my color, bingo, bongo, and then we've added it back. And of course, fool around with the interface a little bit. It's pretty simple. And if you have any questions, you can always hit us up at info@trade-ideas.com. All right, Andy. We're about 20 minutes left, so I better pass it back to you.
Alrighty.
You can talk about the good stuff here. Hold on.
All right, thank you, Jamie. All right, yeah, let me just pull up the agenda real quick, make sure I don't get ahead. Over trading. All right, this should help. Yeah, it's a common problem amongst traders, and you know, it can get you in big trouble. I mean, it can actually blow you up eventually, because not only do you make bad trades, you also churn a lot of commissions. And you know, it comes down to, you know, treating this like a position or business, you know, and not a game. So in other words, you can't. I like to compare it sometimes to, you know, sitting at a blackjack table full of people, and you're sitting with $1,000 in your hand, and you're watching everybody else play, and you're just sitting there and not playing. You know, it's tough to do. But you know, this isn't gambling. You know, it shouldn't. I mean, let's face it, it's fun, but you can't make it too fun, okay? Because it's also work. For many cases, it's a job. For 20 years, it was, you know, pretty much my primary income. Pretty much in many cases, all my income. You know, so you have to treat it, you know, like a business. So you have to do what's best for your business, and a lot of times that is sitting on your hands, not doing anything. So, but you say, Andy, I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm seeing all these alerts come through. They look good at the time, and I buy them, and they turn on me. Well, you're over trading. And this little tactic I'm going to share with you is something that has helped me in the past, and it will really help you, especially because Trade Ideas makes it so easy for you. And what I'm talking about, if you see an alert come through, no matter what you're looking for, or you have an idea, say you just been looking at a stock on your own, not so much alert. Find a level, in the chart, and use a price alert, okay? And do not make a trade unless your alert goes off, okay? Now, in some cases, I'm not saying do this all the time. I'm saying doing this in the times where trading can be unfruitful. Midday, maybe the closes have been, they're nothing like they were back in the good golden days of the early 2000s and late 1990s. Close, it just seems like me, you fairly seldom get those nice long, strong rallies at the close anymore. The most fruitful, I would say, probably nowadays is the first 3 hours of the day. So once again, you're going to see examples where something like this Akamai goes off and it's just setting up good. Let's say you see it right here. Yeah, I'm not saying hold back on a beautiful morning range break in the morning when it's breaking out on the daily chart too. No, that's not the time where you want to set a price alert. But in many cases, especially when it gets in midday and toward the end of the day, don't make a trade unless you set a price alert first. So maybe this is not good doing a good example, but let's say you pull up something like this, and you're like, okay, I've been watching this. I want to buy it. Well, it's right in no man's land. Why would you buy it here? So make yourself set a price alert. Say, okay, where would I want to buy this? Well, if it takes out this level right here, I'll set one right there, and buy it. Maybe find support on a stock. Maybe you're looking somewhere, and this is not a good example. Let's see if I can find a better one. Okay, yeah, this might be a good example. Say you're looking at something like this, strong the last 5 days. It's in no man's land. You don't want to buy it, but it's setting up pretty good. Well, I'm going to put an alert down here. Maybe when everybody else is getting, shook out, I'm going to set a price alert right there, and if my price alert goes off, I'll buy it. Or maybe you bracket it. Maybe if it goes off up here, I'm not going to set another price alert. I'm just going to mark it up for you. You set one right there. So what I'm saying is make yourself, instead of just going and buying a stock as soon as you see it, or you see it on a social media, you see it on an alert, something that you've been stalking, make yourself set a price alert, okay? Worst case scenario is it doesn't trigger and you don't lose any money, Best case scenario is you're getting the stock at your price, whether it's on a pullback or whether it's breaking out when you should be buying it, So just use price alerts. Try it during the slow time. Try it during the close end of the day, or even try it in the morning. But if you find yourself over trading, that can really help you, slow it down and only be buying or selling when you should be. All right, so that's a little tip. Now, I wanted to show you guys a new top list that you might find interesting. I built this for a couple of institutional guys, and it's called, it's a data grid. I call it the data grid. The reason, it's a grid, and there's lots of data in it. So I'm not going to go through every column in here. You can look at it and see, basically looking for stocks. I'll go over the ones I have a gradient in, like relative volume, change from the close, position in year range, short float, earnings per share, cash debt ratio. This is an important one. This is kind of what prodded me to build that alert that I shared with you last week that's doing so well right now. It's a bearish one called Where's My Money? It's based on the theory of high debt in a company. So, and I'm going to show you an example of what you can do when you have a data grid like this. So this is the S&P 500, by the way. Let me show you how I configured it. Just looking for market, a couple of filters, price above $5, average, market cap above 3 billion, does, 300,000 shares a day. But for the most part, it's the S&P 500. So if I go in here to symbol list, you will see I have the S&P 500 checked. And you can also get this out of your add existing list over here. There it is. Okay, so when I share this, and if you want to make it look like mine, that's what you need to do. Go to symbol list, add existing list, click on the S&P 500. It'll bring it over there and just put a little check mark in there. All right, so before I created that where's my money alert, and if some of you guys wasn't here last week or you didn't watch the video and you haven't gotten it, just send me an email. Just send it to info@trade-ideas.com and I'll get that to you. But what I started noticing is I'm going to sort by debt ratio. And this are the strongest companies, as far as that goes, looking pretty good. But let's do it the other way. Let's sort from lower to higher. Now, this is very, very, very poor. Anything below really 0.05 is very, very poor, cash flow, or I shouldn't say cash flow, but debt, basically cash to debt ratio. So if I were to start clicking through a lot of these charts, you're going to see, let me spread out my daily here. You're going to see some ugly charts. Not all of them. I'm not saying you can just come in and short any stock with high debt. There's going to be ones that are, sitting pretty good. But if you go through them all, you're going to see a lot of patterns like this. And look at that, just one after another. Remember, market's not too far from highs. This OKE, I'm pretty familiar with this company. It's not actually doing that bad. They do have some debt, but still not that bad on the daily. But you're going to notice a lot of ugly charts. And I've noticed this direct correlation with companies that have a lot of debt and the weakness of their patterns. So that is why I wanted to create, where's my money alert that I shared with you guys last week. So this can be really valuable for you guys. Maybe when you should be slowing down and you don't want to trade anymore, grab something like this during midday and maybe in the close or whenever times are slow and you shouldn't be trading, and just kind of look, this is the S&P 500. Let me see if I want to see which one's, doing the most relative volume today. Wow, CI, ugly day for it. Strong relative volume, but look at the change from close. Ugly day. Somebody mentioned in the question panels, how can I find stocks for later in the day that may be good for trading in a continuation move? Well, you can grab something like this. Let's sort from change from close. All right, let's see if any of these stocks, I haven't looked at this, but let's see if any of these stocks were trending. No, that was a big gap up, ugly. That one, not bad. Close to hot. Akamai I know was good because it was coming through my extreme volume high-low pro. This is one, if you were watching this, look how, let's talk about a nice trending stock. This is a 15-minute chart. Look at that, all day. Wouldn't even come down and touch its 10-period moving average. Very strong chart. Win had a nice move, but kind of flattened out during the day. But this is a tool you could use to find stocks that might be trending. You can take something like this and find a short float. You want to see which ones have the biggest short float? Let's pull up here. As Steve has squeezed me, but this is slow because I do have it set for a record count of 300, which I'll show you how you can do that. But Discovery. You know what? This is maybe potentially setting up for, I don't know if obviously this is not right, but I'm sure the short float is really, really, really high. So maybe one you want to keep an eye on. Earnings per share. So there's so much data in here. This is why people ask us, man, can you go back and get data for me 2 years ago? It's like, no, we can't do that. We mine so much data here. That's why, we can't keep this stuff in our servers forever. But when it comes to data mining, no one's close to us, and so use it to your advantage. You could create something like this, a little data grid, and just when times are slow, maybe just go through and check it out. Earnings date also. Maybe you want to, sure. Well, of course, it's not earnings season, so this is why you see a lot of blank spaces in here. A lot of companies haven't even announced when the next earnings are going to be. So, probably not a good one to sort by. Earnings per share. I'm not big on earnings per share, but some people might be. Yeah, you see one with the strongest earnings per share. Looks like it's about to roll over and go lower. So, yeah, I'm not big on these type of. There's certain fundamentals that I'd like. Earnings per share is not one of them. I'm more concerned about things like debt. I mean, debt doesn't lie to me. If they got a lot of debt on their hands, I know there's a chance, they could go much lower. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to share this with you. I know some people in there want it. There's nothing you really have to do except, like I showed you, to go in and change the configuration to the symbol list to the S&P 500, or you can put it on anything you want to. Now, what I've done, and keep in mind that if you do this, it may slow down your trade ideas a little bit because it's so much data. And when you're looking at 300, I don't keep this up during the day. I'll just maybe pull it up at times, take a look at it, and then put it back down. But if you go under time frame and you set record count, okay, you have an option. It'll be defaulted to 100. Okay, but if you want to see more, just like I did, you can change that to 300, and it's going to show you 300 symbols versus 100 symbols. So I will share this with you, and guys, in your go-to webinar interface, you're going to see a little area called chat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with you right now for those that want it. And I will just drop it in there, and I'll put data grid so you'll know what you're seeing when you see the link in there. And there you go. And coming up, I'm sure Jamie will at some point, because Brad was able, I've been struggling putting a lot of these together, but Brad kind of today in our TI University came in and showed us how to do these color grids and things like that. And Jamie's going to be demonstrating that on our Thursday TI University webinars. And yeah, I'm sure Jamie, is probably a good idea for you to display it in here at some point.
Yeah, I better brush up on my skills. We're kind of how advanced our product is, and one of the hardest aspects is how to color it.
Yeah, exactly.
How to colorize it,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, since we all set our color schemes up like 10 years ago and we just never change them, if you don't practice, you kind of lose your edge. So I'll be brushing up on my color skills. Let's just say that. Yeah,
likewise. The good thing about you guys getting this cloud link and being able to open this up, this will all be set for you. So I've done all the hard work, so you'll just be able to I'm sorry, I was trying to read the question and talk at the same time. I should know better than that. But yeah, so you'll be able to pull it up with all the color coordination in there.
Yeah, and Amy, real quick here before we disperse, Bill popped in the question, asking if Netflix and Amazon are still good buys. And
okay.
Well, Bill, we'd love to say yes or no, but we really can't do that. But what I will say, Andy, if you pull up the Amazon and Netflix charts, maybe. Maybe depending on what they do from this point on. I mean, they're pushing all-time highs. The Qs are leading the way, so there might be more upside. But I guess it all depends on your risk tolerance, right? And getting a low-risk entry. So, if they do squeeze sideways a little bit, maybe they'll establish a base and identify a low-risk entry.
Exactly. So,
low-risk entry, then maybe it's worth putting into play. But that's my 2 cents on that.
And real quickly, the guy who asked the question, let me see if he's still around. See about a good scan. Yeah, Stan. Stan, something like this, and we do have extreme volume high-low pro. You can see Akamai was coming in here, around noon my time with about 3 hours. You can see where it was triggering. COL. take a look at this. Okay, these are very high volume stocks that are hitting highs late in the afternoon, and you see some continuation. If you do not have access to this Extreme Volume High-Low Pro, which is on our PDF, just send an email to info@trade-ideas.com, and we'll get you a copy of our PDF, which will have this Extreme Volume High-Low Pro. Something like this is real good with stocks that continue to pretty much freight train many times throughout the whole day. All right, with that done, guys, I think we got all the questions there, Jamie. It looks like you were on top of them.
I think mission accomplished on the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We had a great crowd and a lot of people in here, so that's very encouraging. And hang on, because Scott is going to offer you a discount code. Scott, could you make it back in?
Yeah, just a couple items on the way out. First of all, you all should download the ebook, 5 Ways to Win in a Post-BTFD Market. Our educators, including Andy and Jamie, were nice enough to put together a book with 5 strategies to use when the market turns around from a bull market and buying the dip no longer works. And we're getting into a shaky time, so it's a good time to put these 5 strategies in your toolbox. Trade-ideas.com/ebook. Just plug in your email and get the download. Also, new podcast coming out tomorrow. So we have a new ep out tomorrow afternoon. Be sure you're already subscribed so you get that new one when it's hot off the presses. Just search for Trade Ideas Podcast in whatever application you prefer to listen to podcasts in. It'll show up. And then subscribe. Download last week's episode while you wait. It's a good one, too. Then we have a discount code if you're not yet a subscriber. Holly March, all caps, is good this month for 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. And standard subscribers, you can also use this in the account management section of our website when you upgrade. So keep that in mind if you're feeling like, for example, changing from a standard monthly to a premium yearly. It's a great move to use that discount code on your first year. Any questions, just shoot us an email, info@trade-ideas.com, or you can email Andy @TradeIdeas, or Jamie is jhodge@TradeIdeas. And but the info@'s the best place to send questions. Also follow Jamie on Twitter @QuantBot. Steve Gomez is @TodayTrader. Dan Merkins @TradeIdeas1. And find us on Facebook at Trade Ideas Pro. Like our page and share all our stuff with your friends. All right, thanks everyone. We'll have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. You get an email reminder, and you'll get an email invite in about a half hour or so to tomorrow's support webinar. So that's during the morning, and 3 hours free-form ask them questions. So if you've got questions on your mind, sign up for that. Thank you, Jamie and Andy.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.